Good morning, welcome to Morning Outlook. Sorry, slightly late this morning. I just got carried away looking at these markets, and let's start off looking at the risk factors this morning or today as we run through the day. We've got the French manufacturing data coming out in just over 15 minutes time. Manufacturing services, key data for each country actually. So we're just looking at whether manufacturing services are increasing. Anything above 50 is good, but then we're looking for increasing on previous. Now at some stage you see these numbers at sort of 59, 60s, in the 60s, etc. It sounds like they'll flatten themselves off a little bit, but at this stage we expect them to be growing because you're comparing them on an annualized basis. And of course, with shutdowns and things like this, it can be taken as being more than it really is in terms of in normal circumstances. But all the same, the sort of figures are coming out okay, or have been coming out okay. So with the German flash manufacturing and service manufacturers, obviously you can see they're highlighted here as more important. And yep, I mean it's the powerhouse of Europe. Is these two economies as one of the largest economies there. The 9 o'clock news, it tends to be less effective. It's really those first two that really get things moving. We've got the same data coming out at 9:30 for the UK and at 2:45 for the US. So it is that day when we see all the numbers coming. Be wary for 3:30 this afternoon, crude oil inventories, which could affect oil prices later. Right, that's that part of it. Let's look at the currency markets first. So yesterday's saw a continued bounce. It ran right into what I was looking for. There we go. The weekly pivot. Now it's reacted to that. It did that quite late in the day, so it wasn't anything I was going to be trading at the stage. Now, reaction of that pivot is important here. We've done this sort of a higher low coming through here. So in a smaller time frame, it looks positive. Higher lows, higher highs. It's done quite well from that point of view, and it's really what it does today. A break back above that high from last night is much more bullish, and I would expect a bit more of a continuation. We could be seeing some cracks here. It's already, I mean, it's just pre 8 o'clock, and we're seeing this sort of, we've had this, we see this volatility around the 8 o'clock times, time and time again. It just pushes out. It probably attracts buyers into this market. You see, it's done this sort of little AB sort of. Actually, it's had a little 5-wave move down, but either way, it's had this retracement, strong outside bar there. Might have more to come here, but it's sort of initially just got people into the trade. So often it flashes around here and then maybe moves later. Got to be careful. I mean, yesterday, what a sort of day it had yesterday. It pushed up there, it was pushing up in the morning, carried on pushing for a little while, almost taking out the trend across the highs there, pulled back in, then looks quite bearish. So it's sort of gone from pillar to post a little bit there, got bearish, and then later on, as we've got a higher low coming through here, and off it's gone. It's picking up again at this moment, so we'll see how the day progresses. Okay, that's the euro. To me, as I say, it looks erring, and I'm sort of erring on the more bullish side maybe at this stage. We'll see how it progresses. The pound. Again, erring towards the bullish side on this overall. The movement yesterday, well, again, it's a game of two halves really, and it's pushing up, and it's pushing up the small it's off to races a little bit this morning, starting to push up. A little bit different in terms of it's more bullish in terms of where it is with its weekly pivot. It's above the weekly pivot, but the higher low in quite clearly. There's argument, there's probably some divergence over the top of the price action here, but of course it's sort of middling. If it run up and got a bit sort of overbought sort of thing in the first, I say overbought, but run up a bit higher on the first move, I'd been a bit more wary of this, but really it's softish move. Now we have got data coming out, as I said, in 15 minutes in the for Europe, and then at 9:30 for the UK. It could give a bit of a mover on this. Now this is in double top territory when you look at it on this shortest time frame. In fact, let's just move it down to a 60-minute chart, or move it up to a 60-minute chart, be a bit easier. But you got a bit, well, you had no divergence here at all. It is pushing up there and looking quite positive as it sits at the moment. Okay, that's the pound. I wouldn't want to be buying necessarily at this point. It's let's say, and particularly with the news coming out, it may be worth waiting. Dollar yen, as suspected yesterday, is just continuing its sort of almost this risk-off situation, and sorry, risk-on rather, and people trading it. Money's going back into the markets, and we're seeing it quite clearly here in terms of the yen, which was a safety currency, being unwound again, and the continuation pushing through into the sort of levels I was previously looking for. In fact, it's actually hit the level I was looking for when I was trying to get long, and unsuccessfully I could add. Pushing up quite nicely now again. Yeah, there is the proper divergence here. You see where the RSI levels here gone into the 80 level, pulled back a little bit. It's just looking a bit softer there. It doesn't mean to say it's going to roll over when you see divergence in these markets. It just means it's a bit soft at that time, or softer at that time. It could just consolidate and push back up. A break though of that sort of 110.71 area could see something a bit more significant coming off there. Interesting if the pound and the euro keeps on, and the other currencies continue to strengthen against the US dollar, whether we do eventually start seeing the yen also strengthen against the US dollar. But at the moment, the US dollar here is winning over. Aussie dollar, difficult one to trade for a lot of the time over the last month or two. Not making it particularly easy, but it's a similar picture to what we're seeing here with the euro. It's gone into its weekly pivot, and it's at that sort of deciding factor for me. It becomes bullish and more bullish if it can break back above that weekly pivot where it's sitting at the moment. It's a bit of a question mark. Its daily pivot just fractionally underneath there. It's a bit of a squeeze between it. Higher lows, higher highs coming through on this current price action. It does look, it's erring again towards the bullish side, a bit like the euro there. So seeing some signs that it could be pushing more. Yen, CAD yen. I've already done the yen. The Canadian dollar. Then daily picture here. Corrected sort of move. Looks like it's over at the moment. This is one of the currencies I think it's got the best opportunities a lot of the time. And yesterday, sure enough, it broke the back through. It had a reaction to its weekly pivot there, pulled back. Not very shallow retracement there, which would suggest that there's going to be something more coming on. And sure enough, it ran through yesterday evening and has pushed down. At the moment, again, erring here, more strength towards the Canadian dollar. So remember, this is US dollar, Canadian dollar, so more selling of the US dollar on this one. Of course, watch out for 330 when we get the news later on the oil prices, because it has quite a big impact on the Canadian dollar at times. But as I say, at the moment, it's short of its daily pivot, but it's I tend to wait in the mornings for the Canadian dollar to sort itself out a little bit. Sometimes you'll miss a decent move, but it can just sort of dance around a little bit, and you get the better moves later in anyway. That's a statistical approach to trading anyway. Right, okay. Equity markets then. And so I'm just pulling in. I'll drop you. We'll have a look at the indices on here as well. I'm looking at the S&Ps at the moment, and well, you can see there, as I said yesterday, you can't write off these equity markets. And I know people were getting bearish last week, and yeah, sure, they can go down for a couple of days. Obviously, the S&Ps, a much broader market, and to me, that's why I tend to follow it, prefer to trade it. It's less fickle. And off it is again pushing through yesterday and starting the day today quite well for quite a small retracement here in the scheme of things on the intraday sort of basis, and pushing up. Might just ease off as it gets towards the previous highs there, and of course react to the prior highs as people start taking profit. Looking at other markets, let's just bring the other chart in for you. And we'll look at the DAX as we're DAX not pushed up quite so well yesterday, but still erring its way back up there, trying to work its way. Other US markets, the Dow Jones there, this is the futures pricing, sitting across here, continuous pricing. as you can see, pushing up. Not again, not quite as strong as what we're seeing with that bigger market. But they are all going the same sort of direction. The Nasdaq, again, well, that's gone off and made new highs again yesterday. So you sort of that's why I can't get massively bearish on these equity markets at the moment. Where's the FTSE gone? FTSE, where are you? I haven't got the FTSE on here. It's right at the top, that's why. There you go. Similar, you've got the bullish Harami sort of pattern that was sort of coming in a couple of days ago, pushed up well again yesterday. They are a bit more delayed in terms of the oomph that's coming through here, but I'm still sitting there relatively bullish on these equity markets over. That's on those markets. Let's have a look through gold. So gold, from a daily point of view, gold stifled a little bit more here yesterday, didn't quite pitch back up there. I'm sort of jury's still out for me on gold. It hasn't managed to push up towards its weekly pivot. The currencies have all, dollar-backed currencies have all got pretty close, if not touched their weekly pivots. Gold struggling a little bit here at the moment, which could suggest a bit of weakness. It's very choppy there. It's sitting in quite a tight range. We could be putting some trend lines across it and looking for the break of these trend lines. Probably a safer place to be. Sorry, I've just drawn that a bit weirdly, but it's fine. It's on the near-term lows. That's good enough. Let's see if we can pop one across the highs there as well. And this really is okay. I'm on a live bar at the moment, but you can. It's pretty much what we should be just aware of in terms of what's. In fact, I can draw it. There we go. Draw it properly there. It's just pitched out on this current bar, but it's to me it looks, if anything, like it could have some downside. It's, as I say, just hasn't managed the pullback, but as well, it just looks a bit soft on gold. So if you were looking to buy, I'll personally wait a bit. Right, oil. Continues largely to shove up there. Yesterday, a bit of an inside doji bar there, not really doing too much, but no surprise after the previous days. Monday's more decent shove, consolidating again where we are at this. Although it's, I say, consolidating, it is pushing quite nicely at this stage from up there. But again, personally, I wait until later in the day to trade these. Just wait and see if you can get any opportunities to pop trend lines off like so across, and just wait for that sort of 2-3 o'clock surge if you're going to get one. Right, but it is bullish. It is still, for me, looking relatively bullish there at the moment. Of course, we've got the 3:30. We've got data coming out. Bitcoin. Let's look through the crypto markets then. I say Bitcoin, but cryptos. So let's get the right market on there. So crypto-wise, yeah, I mean, we've seen the Bitcoin take out the prior low there from when was that, 19th of May. It's taken out the 19th of May low, looking, well, maybe find a bit of support now. I'm saying this every time it gets down to the next low, and well, it's looking a little bit more positive at the moment. It certainly hasn't recovered in the same way as what we've seen with the currencies against the US dollar. This is looking pretty these are looking pretty soft relatively, and that does open the question, are we going to see some more downside yet? And if the dollar starts picking up again, we're going to see these just dropping back a little bit more. Right, Ripple, all of these. I mean, Ripple, you could be saying, well, this is reasonable value compared to where it was. If you come back to the bigger picture here, and you sort of, some of these markets, you look at them from a weekly perspective, they're not looking too bad. They're back into prior high sort of areas. and maybe not looking too bad, but yeah, looking at the shape of it, actually, you do wonder if they, okay, just be stalling around here and got some more downside. Technically, it looked like it could just be on consolidation phase before it does drop down. So I'm a bit wary on those. Say maybe on likes of Ripple, where it's back to these sort of lower prices, it might be a bit more interesting and more useful. More interesting, more potential to be starting to buy in if that's what you're looking for. Right, that's the cryptos. And finally, sorry, someone's asked me a question then on the Euro Swissy. See if I've got that on my list up here. Euro Swissy. Oh, that's fortunate. Don't have to type it in. It's not a currency pairs I trade. Let's have a look at here. Yeah, is it bullish? Right, well, it's at the moment it's lower highs, lower lows. I'm looking at on this daily chart, and that's pretty much the story. It becomes a lot more bullish when it breaks the trend line for me. Just things start changing shape. I'm going to be drawing from this line here down here, and it's possibly done that actually. So it's not particularly successful. It's run into its daily 50 there, and it's pulling away. It becomes more bullish if it can start breaking above there. Let's have a look down the time frames. It certainly looks better. It's put the signs in on the lower time frame, so you've got this. Come back to the dailies there. You have got, it is in a downward trend. However, it's at the point of maybe the inflection point where you're sitting there in between. Either going to roll back again, or actually this time make a break and continue this shorter term trend. But the high lows, high highs look positive there. Coming down to the short sort of 60-minute intraday basis, it's a choppy old market. It's much more adaptable to swing as opposed to trying to day trade too much on this. But yeah, I mean, it all shapes up on the bullish side there. If you can get something, and it may be that you get an entry from these smaller time frames, and then you're looking at the bigger time frames for the move. But it's showing a lot of the cracks in terms of this downward trend sort of finishing, and maybe something more coming to the upside. There we go. I'm going to call it a day there. Just to remind you, we have got 2 free days running in our day trading room today, tomorrow. If you haven't already logged in for it, there'll be a link at the bottom of this video. Do so, and at some point you'll get a message and an invitation to come in and join us. Okay, it's only for 2 days. Don't miss it if you really want to be day trading. You can see not just this I mean, today Charlie's in this morning, I'll be in this afternoon, but tomorrow I'll be doing the day trade, this video from the day trade, from the live trading room, and then following it through, taking trades if there's anything there. Anyway, have a great one. Bye for now.